just so disappointed. I almost want to say I have no words, but I have a lot of words that are about to come, and come fast. What's up, guys? My name is Moo. I am a college student who loves reading, and I'm here to share that love with all of you. If you like this video, make sure to like it. If you like the content that I bring out, subscribe. Comment the book that was the most disappointing for you, because that is kind of the theme of this video. Today, unfortunately, we are reviewing a book that made me extremely upset because I wanted it to be good so bad. And the first thing that I said once I finished the book was, well, that sucked. I'm not even joking. I finished it last night. That is the first thing I said. And then I got really sad because I wanted it so badly to be good. And the ending, the last 100 pages, the last quarter of the book, ruined it. Just ruined it. The book that we are reviewing today is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. Still don't know how to pronounce that name, but Renee Ahdieh. If you remember, this is the same author who wrote The Wrath and the Dawn. This is the sequel to The Wrath of the Dawn. Now, The Wrath and the Dawn is a duology, which means there's only 2 books in the series, so there is no hope for this series ever getting better, because those 2 books were the series' only chance. I'm not going to be excessively mean about it, but at the same time, I might yell a little bit. We'll see how it goes, because I'm upset, because I really wanted the book to be good, and I really wanted to enjoy it, but I didn't, and I don't think that it ended well, and I'm going to share my thoughts with you, because I'm just upset, just overall. I'm just upset, I'm disappointed, as you could see in the title. So disappointed. Like, what am I supposed to do? I created this YouTube channel so I could talk about books with people, so I'm gonna talk about all the books I read, and the highs and the lows of all of them. And trust me, I have some really good things to say about a lot of the parts of this book, because it was such a good book for the first 75%. But as I have told you before, the ending can make or break a book for me. So the fact that the last 25% was just plain awful tells you that I hate this book. And I don't hate this book because it was badly written. I hate this book because it just let me down. It always sucks when there's so much potential in books and then they just let you down at the end. If you climb 75% up the mountain and then plummet down the mountain, you didn't do what you were set out to do. You were supposed to write a good book, but because of the ending, it wasn't a good book and it just makes me sad. But enough of my feelings, because you don't know why I'm upset. You don't know why I'm sad. So I should share it with you. Let me warn you now, this is not going to be spoiler free. I'm going to be talking about everything throughout the entire series. I worked my hardest to make my first video on The Wrath of the Dawn spoiler free, so if you'd like to watch that, please feel free. And if you'd like to read the series, feel free, because maybe you won't dislike it like I do. I mean, it is pretty highly reviewed, but I didn't like it because I hated the ending, and yeah, we will talk about that. So if you want a spoiler-free introduction to this series, please make sure to watch my first video of The Wrath and the Dawn. I mean, it's titled something along the lines of, did Webtoon help me find a good book? Because I had so much hope for this series, and I was let down. It was like I was shoved out of a plane and just left to flail until I hit the ground and said, well, that sucked. But let's get into it. Let's read the summary, and then I will take you through the series itself and what I loved, and then I'll tell you about the ending, which was just plain awful. The summary says, Shahrazad thought she was on the right side of the war. That was until she discovered the man she married, the man that everyone believed to be a murderous king, was actually plagued by a powerful curse. Now, torn from her husband Khalid and taken refuge with her family among his enemies, Shahrazad finds herself a prisoner caught between loyalties to the people she loves. Determined to find her way back to Khalid before the kingdom is attacked, Shahrazad awakens the powers inside her to attempt to break the curse to unite with her true love once more. It sounds promising, short and sweet, and it was promising. That's why I wanted to read the sequel so badly, because it sounds so promising. So the book starts out very strong. In the last part of the first book, Shahrazad has to be taken away from the palace to take refuge in the desert because the city she lives in, Ray, which is the capital and where Khalid lives and where the palace is, it's completely been destroyed because of both Khalid's curse and because of Shahrazad's dad, Jahandar, who did a spell trying to free his daughter, and he rained down terror and went into a coma. So he's there, and so is Shahrazad and Shahrazad's sister, Irsa. What I liked a lot about this book is because there were people in different settings at the time, like Khalid was somewhere where Shahrazad was in another place. We saw from many different perspectives. We saw from at least 5, but you kind of got the perspective of sometimes minor characters, which I did find cool. I thought that it was nice to see that perspective, and I liked seeing the perspectives bounce around wherever the story needed to go. I thought that was cool. So she is taken by her childhood love, Tariq, to the desert where he is trying to start to wage a war against Khalid because everyone knows him as this murderous madman who takes a wife every night only to have her murdered by sunrise. So if you are not aware, the story is based off of 1001 Arabian Nights, and Shahrazad and Khalid are the main characters, I think you would say, and Shahrazad is the one telling stories to Khalid. So the similarities between the two is every day the king takes a wife only to kill her by sunrise, and Shahrazad volunteers only to tell him stories and leaving him at a cliffhanger so that she can stay alive another night. That is where the similarities end. There is nothing beyond that that really is important to the Wrath of the Dawn story. Everything else is a creative liberty taken by the author to make the story her own. And I think that's cool. As I've said, I really like fantasy retellings, mythology retellings, pretty much any folklore, anything like that. Anything retold like that, I'll be interested in, probably. So I was really interested in this. However, knowing that the similarities are very baseline means that I am able to criticize Renee Ahdieh for the things that she chose to do and not get stuck with, oh, she took this from the story, that's why it's like this. No, the things I have a problem with are all her, okay? But yes. So while her writing style wasn't my favorite in the world, it was still very easy to read, and it was still beautifully done for the most part. I think the storytelling is what made me so angry at the end, not the writing style. But for some reason, though, when the storyline got muddied, so did the writing style. So that just may be my bias clouding my opinion on the quality of writing, but I enjoy the way that the author writes for the most part. And I thought that it was really beautiful. I think one thing that stuck out to me that I really liked is near the beginning of the book, Tariq was always described as the boy with fire ice eyes, and I just thought that was pretty. I thought that it was a very interesting way to describe eyes. I'm pretty sure she used the word orbs a couple times in the last book, and I hate that word to describe eyes so much, and I know other people do too, but the way she described characters for the most part was very beautiful. The way she described setting was very beautiful. I liked the writing style a lot in this book. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I thought this could be a total redemption to the first book, because I did have criticisms of the first book as well. Unfortunately, it was criticisms in the first half of the first book, and then it was great from the second half to 75% of the second book, and then the last 25% imploded into bad. Just imploded into bad. So before we move on, I'm going to talk about Khalid's curse, because I did not talk about it in the first video because I wanted spoiler free, but I'm not doing that this time, so I'm going to explain his curse. The reason that Khalid murders all these women is because he's cursed. He had a wife before Shahrazad, who it was an arranged marriage, and he didn't truly love her, and she was depressed in the marriage, so she decided she didn't want to live anymore, and her father was so distraught that he lured Khalid to his home, and he cursed him, saying 100 lives for the one you lost. So Khalid was cursed, and the curse made his nights sleepless, gave him raging headaches, and it would only be relieved if he killed 100 women in the next 100 nights. That is the reason why he brought women to the palace and killed them all. And he was about 75 women in when Shahrazad came up, and he was intrigued by her, and they fell in love, and they are in love now. So that is the curse, and because of it, and because he did not fulfill the curse, his capital city got destroyed, many people died. It was very sad what happened, but he was in love and he was not going to kill Shahrazad, so he let it happen despite being extremely upset that that's what had to happen. So that being said, a lot of this book is centered on wanting to destroy the curse, except it's not. It's very weird. There's a lot of side plots that kind of happen that kind of make no sense at the time, and then they kind of came together at the end, and it was just like, it wasn't very satisfying to watch them all come together at the end, because I found the last part of the book extremely rushed, and the first 75% of the book, while I did enjoy it, I found it very slow, so the pacing was pretty off in this book. In this book, Shahrazad starts being able to control the magic she has. It's magic that was passed down in her family. Her father has magical abilities, and she's learning what she can do with her powers. She has a carpet that she can use. It is a magic carpet. It can take her anywhere. So she goes to a sorcerer she met who was Khalid's tutor, and through that they all find a remedy for the curse, and there's just that whole thing. But then when the curse was broken, it was just so unsatisfying because it was Khalid alone in a desert, just like, okay, I'm gonna cut my hand, do a little ritual guy, destroy this book that was important for reasons. But yes, the thing with the first 75% is it had me on the edge of my seat. There were so many interesting elements going on, and then by the time the pacing started speeding up too much, it was less, oh, this is so cool, I'm on the edge of my seat, and more, really? Are you kidding me? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So let me talk about the ending, because that is what was the most frustrating thing for me. So basically, Shahrazad steals a book that Khalid needs to lift the curse, and she pays for it because the father of her best friend, who Khalid killed, was extremely mad at her for being on a different side of the war and falling in love with the man who murdered his daughter. So he kidnaps her and takes her to Khalid's uncle, the Sultan, and also his enemy, and she gets kind of taken in as prisoner, but she doesn't go to like a cell or anything. She's just taken as prisoner. Now, there was a plot twist that Shahrazad's handmaiden, that was a pretty big part of the last book, who Shahrazad slowly was becoming friends with, is actually the daughter of the Sultan, a princess herself. And when I saw this, I went, that is so stupid. Why should I care? The thing is, Despina, the princess who deceived her, was also with child with Khalid's cousin, one of Khalid's closest friends. There's a whole thing with that, so she's kind of important in the first maybe 25% of the book, but then nowhere in the rest of the book, and then she just kind of pops up, so I kind of forgot about her. So the plot twist was less of a, oh, that's crazy, and more of a, why is she here? Why was this a choice being made? I don't care that she deceived Shahrazad, because I have not seen anything of her in a long time. I legitimately couldn't care less about this plot point. I am just annoyed. And then it turns out that she deceived the Sultan and pretended to deceive Shahrazad, but in fact, she was helping Shahrazad, and it's just this whole convoluted thing. And it really made sense to me in that moment that, oh, that's why I thought it was so stupid, because it wasn't even true, you know? There are some surprises in books that are done really well. This one was not. It just wasn't, and that was kind of when I started to go, oh no, what's going on? Is this book going to devolve? And it devolved. Ugh. So many elements that came together really felt like they didn't matter at the end. There was a plot point that was abandoned so long ago that came back at the end that I was just like, oh yeah, this was a part of the book, but now I don't care, because we weren't told to care. We weren't told to continue to remember the characters that were not there for most of the book. They just come back at the end and save the day, and it's just like, wow, am I supposed to care? Because I don't, and that's what sucks. I don't care. And I want to care, but I don't. But that's not even the worst part. This is just the dumbest plot point that I have seen in a book in a really long time, okay? So, obviously, since Khalid, the king, is known as a murderous madman, a lot of people want him dead. Shahrazad's father is friends with people who want him dead, right? He's mad at Khalid for some reason. Honestly, there's no reason why he specifically should be mad at Khalid, because Khalid kept his daughter alive when he killed so many others. So I don't know why he was personally angry, but at the end of the book, he was, right? So it's called The Rose and the Dagger. There's a lot of talk about Shahrazad's dagger. So she has a dagger throughout almost the entire book, and it's used to break Khalid's curse, and now she has it back. So, in the summary, it talks about the war that may happen. The war doesn't happen. Khalid completely destroys this guy's city, and it's just like, okay, well, if you don't want any more, do a truce. And the Sultan's like, okay, and nothing happens, right? So, Jahandar, Shahrazad's father, is with the side of the Sultan, and he comes in to talk with the truce. But while the Sultan leaves, Jahandar does not, and he gets mad all of a sudden for some reason, and he takes Shahrazad's dagger from out of her sheath and he stabs Khalid in the heart. Just out of nowhere. There's no reason for him to be angry, except he's mad at himself that he's not as powerful as he wants to be. But that has nothing to do with Khalid. So he just stabs Khalid in the heart out of nowhere, and then not even 2 seconds go by before he's just like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oops. And he's just like, well, he's dying, but I'll fix that, right? And he transferred the wound onto his heart, and he died. There was no reason for that. There was no reason why he had to do that. And then in the epilogue, Khaled's like, this man saved his life. This man tried to kill you. And I started screaming because this was in the last 10 pages of the book. So I'm like, why does this matter? It doesn't matter. And then the epilogue happens after it says this one other guy died that, again, was not that important. So the epilogue happens, and Shahrazad and Khalid have a son, and they talk about how Shahrazad's dad saved Khalid's life, even though he didn't. He killed Khalid. He wouldn't have to save his life if he didn't kill him first. And then it ends just with Shahrazad saying to her son, "You want to hear a story?" It was so stupid. I'm just so sad. It was gonna be so good, and then it wasn't. The last 25% was almost all useless plot points. Characters coming together that I had forgotten about because they had not been mentioned for the past couple 100 pages. Characters, again, who I did not care about, saving the day for some reason. And then Khalid dying only for Shahrazad's dad, who stabbed him, to be like, shouldn't have done that, dude. And then dying like I was supposed to care. Khalid got stabbed and I was just like, this isn't gonna go anywhere. I know it's not. I know he's not gonna die, so this doesn't affect me in any way. And that's one of the most frustrating things too, because I felt nothing as all of these important things were happening. All these things that were supposed to make me feel things, I felt nothing because it was so predictable, and I'm just grieving. I'm grieving over what could have been. It could have been so good. Everything was so wishy-washy when it could have been so good. This just makes me so sad. I can't even recommend this to anybody because I'm sure there's some people that'll like it, but I can't in good faith recommend this to anybody because it made me so upset that I don't want to make other people upset with how bad I thought it was. I guess that's all for today then. If you liked it, like it. If you like what I put out, subscribe. But again, comment the book that disappointed you the most that you read and why. I think this is my book that disappointed me more than any other book ever did, because I had so much hope for this book, because Wrath in the Dawn turned on its head so well and it ended so well, and I wanted to read the sequel so fast. And then I read the sequel and I was just let down more than I thought I ever could be. There's no redemption for me because I'm just so upset with how this book turned out. So yeah, that's it for today. This has been Moo, screaming and all. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.